Welcome back, everybody, to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on Santa Clarita's hometown station, KHTS. It is the Gazette Radio Hour. Did I already say that or not?
I don't know.
I'm preoccupied.
What are you preoccupied about? Where are we? What are we doing? Focus.
I need to talk to somebody like somebody with the standards and the intelligence and the communication skills of somebody like Robert Patrick Lewis.
I was going to say we couldn't find anybody but Robert Patrick Lewis, so we're going to have to talk to him.
I can't stand by the intelligence part of that.
Well, okay, where do we start, Robert? Where do we start?
Anything going on today in the news?
World's falling apart at the seams, guys.
Let's go yesterday. Let's go yesterday. There were a couple of things that came out yesterday. One, did you see the decision that nobody's talking about?
Which one? The Supreme Court decision?
Yeah, the Supreme Court decision that nobody's talking about.
Today.
Yeah, it's been buried way, way, way down in the head.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
The gay marriage?
No, not the gay marriage. Everyone's talking about that one. Not even Obamacare.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Okay.
free trade agreement?
No, but right after the free trade agreement. That one got passed. How did that get passed? I don't even know.
It's called corruption.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
You think? But there was...
I mean, we used the appropriate channels and the political process that was set up to stop corruption and collusion, and it didn't work that way because obviously it was something that the people didn't want, so they just jammed it through over and over and over and over and over until they could get it through, and nobody was paying attention.
Yeah. And then there was another Supreme Court decision that came out that basically said a landlord can get sued for discrimination even though he had no intent to discriminate.
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. Yep.
That's a good one.
It's the attack on anybody that tries to make money without being a corrupt politician.
So, how many Confederate flags do you have flying around now?
Well, I grew up in Texas.
I know.
I'm a son of the South.
Exactly.
To me, you talk about knee-jerk reaction and wasted emotional energy. It is ridiculous.
It's getting... So the pact, right?
It looks like it might be coming to that.
So now we have to go back to... We have to explain that to everybody.
The Chinese economy, the Chinese market is in free fall right now. So, hey, be prepared if they call in their debts.
That's a good question, Robert.
We'll get better Chinese
By the
food?
way, folks, we're talking to Robert Patrick Lewis, Green Beret, author. What else do you do?
Convert oxygen to CO2.
Yeah, that. What if they were to call their debt in, and we're very serious about it? What would the immediate ramifications be, in your opinion?
Well, in all reality, that scenario has been talked about time and time again. And in all reality, the entire world is just one kind of ever-running debt clock against each other. Everybody owes everybody money. Everybody owes everybody lots and lots and lots of money. Most notably right now, Greece. And if all countries were ever to call in all of their debts, the global economy, would essentially come to a halt.
Right.
And it's in my honest opinion, and from my background as a financial advisor, I think it leads to a large majority of the problems that we have today. Governments do it, teaches people to do it, people do it, teaches their kids to do it, and we have this ever-running vicious cycle of debt fueling the world right now. And there are some economies that pretty much run on debt. We are creditors. While we owe China a lot of money, we're also creditors to a large part of the world.
Right.
And so it's this kind of, I owe them, but they owe me, and these guys owe us, but we all owe these people, and it's just kind of this large game of tag, and if anybody were ever to call in all the debts, it would kind of implode everything.
Exactly, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen, because if we call in their debt, they call in our debt, we call in somebody else's debt, and it's the whole Robin Peter, and it all comes apart. It's kind of like we're all balancing on a head of a pin.
Now, however, of course, Texas being the leaders of the free world that they are, they're establishing their own gold depository. There was a time in our history where that's how you did it. You had to have something that backed your dollars, and we went away from that a long time ago. A lot of people have this conspiracy theory that the American dollar is a fiat currency, and so it's going to fall soon. Almost all of the world is on fiat currency at this point. Exactly. It's not just us. Everybody does the same thing. But Texas, being Texas, I would snatch up every Texas dollar bill I could find if that's what their plan is. But they're doing something smart. I don't know why they're doing it, but they established their own gold deposit.
All right, Robert Patrick Lewis, we're up against the break. You hanging on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, you're listening to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We will be back.
We're back, everybody, on the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM-1220. And trying to get things cheerful, John. It has been one of our more uplifting shows, if you know what I mean.
It's interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on.
But we are on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM-1220 KHTS.
We are. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And, I mean, like, we have Robert Patrick Lewis on the line. Now, Robert, let's go back to a subsidy not being a tax, but a tax being a subsidy.
Huh?
That was the right. You got to realize a lot of people hear, the Affordable Care Act got granted by the Supreme Court. It's now the law of the land forever and ever and ever. And I'm like, no, that's not really what happened. One aspect of it was an unfair tax was deemed a subsidy, not a tax, right?
Right.
So now, them taking your money is a subsidy. So we're not going to pay income tax anymore. We're going to pay income subsidies.
Yeah, it's just a play on words, and I mean that's politics, right? If you can't be honest, just lie, right? That's how politics is. Just finding a play on words, finding a way that people don't really understand that you're fleecing them.
Yeah. Do you think that the Republicans will actually get together and go, you know something? We're going to change this a little bit here.
Not right now.
The problem is the messaging. That's, the left has a much stronger marketing campaign, a much stronger PR team, and a much better messaging machine than the Republicans have had for the past decade. The Republicans seem to fall all over themselves every time they have a chance like this. So every time they go after Obamacare, the left creates this message where the Republicans are going after the poor, and, it's just the rich and greedy and these people that control the world coming after the poor who can't do anything to help themselves.
Yeah.
And the Republicans, they get put on the ropes, and they just sit there and they take a couple of licks, and then they just walk away with the tail between their legs.
Exactly. But now, if you're a Republican candidate for president, aren't you happy? You don't have to deal with gay marriage. You don't have to come out for it or against it or anything.
So trying to separate religion and politics, which, some people want to do, some people don't want to do.
Right.
At the end of the day, the original Republican message was smaller government. Government shouldn't be able to tell me what to do. Government has its place, and its place is not within my life. So I don't understand why the Republican side believes so wholeheartedly. I understand because it's more of a conservative and it's more of a religious aspect.
Right.
But if your image is that government can't be in my life, why do they think government should tell people who they can marry?
Right.
It seems to be very much against each other. It does not seem to be in concert with the actual Republican message.
Robert, your libertarian side is showing.
Yeah, I know. I tell people, I've lived in California too long. I'm trying to get hippie tendencies.
Hey, Robert, I'd like to change
the subject. To be a true Republican, you want the government out of your life. Right. Marriage is part of your life.
All right, Doug wants to change the subject.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but I have a friend who works for Morgan Stanley. He's pretty high up in their ranks, and he was telling me that Puerto Rico is on the verge of defaulting on their debt, and that is going to have some ramifications for us financially, and especially if it happens around the same time as Greece. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, and a lot of people tend to write something like that off. If you just think, it's Puerto Rico, what do they really do besides making rum? But it does have a lot of ramifications. It's a sovereign territory of the United States of America, which it could have very long-standing ramifications throughout the global economy, just like having Greece. I mean, Greece is already starting to send small shockwaves through the economy, but it's going to be very scary because it doesn't look like they're going to come back and actually honor what they agreed to do for the first round of bailouts. So, yeah, if anybody's guessing, that's the problem, is there are academics all over the world that will say, here's what's going to happen, here's how it's going to happen. But just like in the military, planning goes out the window when the first shots are fired. So we'll see what actually happens, if it happens.
And also, I wanted to touch base with you on the terrorist attacks that happened today. One of them was in France, and there was two others, almost simultaneous. Was that correct?
Yeah, and it's funny. I think the only thing missing from like your terrorist soup, your terrorism soup, was a hijacked airplane. So we had a beheading in France, we had gunmen shooting in Tunisia, and we had a mosque bombing in Kuwait.
Right.
So essentially, those main characteristics of terrorist attacks, we had all of them except for the hijacked airplane. And that hasn't really happened in a while anyway.
And on the beach, is it Tanzania, is it? Tunisia. On the beach, they just opened fire on the sunbathers with machine guns.
And that's kind of what terrorism does, right? So they want to have the maximum effect. That's why they take airplanes, because you're defenseless. Right? They
Right.
get you when there's nothing you can do, and the smallest action will kill everybody on board. Kind of the same thing holds for a beach resort. Nobody out there is packing a gun unless you're in Israel or unless you go to the beach with me. And people are out there kind of in their bathing suits having a good time, and then the lunatic walks out there with a gun. That's the whole point of terrorism, is you want people to not feel safe no matter where they are. That's the entire point of terrorism, is to feel this fear in the back of your mind wherever you go. And a successful terrorism campaign will change the way you live your life.
Right. I just had a picture of Robert packing in a Speedo, and I just I was not going to comment because that's not going to work. But do we know who did these attacks? I mean,
ISIS is claiming.
Yeah.
Was it ISIS?
Claiming at least the Kuwait attack, the mosque bombing.
The mosque bombing.
The other two, I don't think they've come out yet.
Okay.
In France, it was one person that got beheaded. That could very easily be a lone wolf kind of thing.
And they put the poor guy's head on a fence post.
Yeah. Well, that's savagery.
Could have been a copycat crime for all we know at this point.
So what do? We just do it the president, just do a little bit, try to appease people that we're stopping ISIS? Do we let them spread like we did Nazi Germany? What do we do?
If I were king for a day, their heads would be on stakes in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, wipe them off the face.
That's the only thing that we try to play this patty cake approach, and it's what we've done throughout this entire administration. But unfortunately, you're going against a culture that doesn't respect any half measures or any half steps. That's just the culture that you're fighting against fundamentalists. Is anytime you take a step back or draw a line in the sand and they walk over and you don't have any kind of response, they lose all respect for you and they go further on the next action.
Right.
And so we can't. We're at the point where our administration has backed down so many times. It's either complete annihilation or they'll never stop.
Yeah.
All right. Are we going to be able to make it to 2016 or 17 when the new guys take over? I don't know.
Hey, we got a presidential campaign to vote on. Of course we're going to.
There you go. That's coming up. Robert Patrick Lewis, the author, the all-around generally great guy, The Pact, online, books, you got it. Robert, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Doug, we're out. Another book in the show, another show in the book.
Best one ever.
All right, the Gazette Radio with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS.